Hi, good morning. Do we have any questions? If we do, please put them in the chat and address them to everyone or all panelists. Kenny, I don't believe that they did. However, when you submit your application and you're applying for original contractor's license, you will check the box, which I believe is number 16, stating that you were in the military, and you will submit a DD 214 long form, which will need to show your discharge status. If we see that status is honorable, or if you have a driver's license with the veteran endorsement listed on it, then we can offer 50% off of the ILF, which is the initial licensing fee, which is due when your license is pretty much ready to be issued. It's not on the application fee, but it is on the ILF at that point. And I believe the application does state this. Hong, is that the end of the presentation? Yes, it was. From Austin, if you happen to fail the test, how many times can you retake the test? You can continue to retake the test. So after you fail the first time, you pay the retest fee of $100, and you do have to, there is a mandatory wait of 3 weeks. Once that 3 weeks is up, you will be contacted by PSI, who will tell you, now you can go ahead and schedule your exams. You can keep doing that until you do pass the exams. However, once the time your application is posted, which means deemed acceptable, and you are passed on to the testing phase of the application process, you have 18 months from that date to pass your exams. Kenny, how many questions are on the test? I couldn't find anything that stated amount of questions on each test. We don't have that information, Kenny. That's something that's not disclosed. It is multiple choice, I can tell you that, and it is on a computer. And Jay, hopefully you were able to have your audio fixed. Sounds like it was, since you did say never mind.
There's a question from Shaman. The question is journey person, foreperson, and supervising person are different than qualifier. So that would be the work experience as far as the level of what is acceptable. So if your experience was like a volunteer or something like that, then that's not acceptable. We're looking at it as a journey level person higher as far as the work experience that you're trying to qualify for, applying for in the classification that you're interested in. And we're looking at it as the last 4 years when the last 10 years.
Christian, can the license be updated to go from sole prop to an LLC, etc., once passed, assigned, etc.? So once you pass your exams, if you're talking about on the application that you originally submitted, let's say you put you wanted to be a sole owner, once your application is posted, which means deemed acceptable, you can't make changes to that application as far as your entity, or adding or taking off personnel. If you're talking about once your application is completed and you were you applied as a sole ownership and you received your license number, you can then go and apply for a different entity at this point, an LLC, and you would submit the waiver application with the associated fees. Are there any more questions?
The question from Shaman, you do not issue a license to an individual, but each entities need to pick an individual as a qualifier to take the exam, et cetera, correct? So yes, that is correct, where we issue contractors licenses to business entities or structures, and there is one person that would be deemed the qualifier or the person responsible for projects and under the classification that they're applying for.
If my microphone's working, I can jump in on the next one.
It is.
All right. So to James Harvey, if a company is out of state, do we register as a foreign entity? So we don't regulate how you want to register your company at the Secretary of State. You can, depending on how you're structured or anything, you can register it as a foreign or domestic according to your choices. We don't get into the process of how your business is registered. For us, there's not a distinguishing between a foreign license or a domestic license, foreign being out of state. You're applying for a license to do business within the state of California. So all of our licenses are California license, even though that company may have its headquarters or its basis out of state. So we don't register or assign licenses to a entity type like that, just California license. And then how you register your business with Secretary of State to do business here, that's up to you and doesn't affect the licensing.
And that goes for a corporation or an LLC, either of those entities. Do we have any more questions? Comments? Just in case you don't want to ask a question in the chat, you do have the option of sending an email to our licensing email, which is licensing@cslb.ca.gov, and one of us will respond to that email. But if your question wasn't answered the way you thought, or if it's a question that you didn't want to ask or didn't get a chance to ask or something, just a general question, you can send an email to the licensing email at any point. So if we don't have any more questions,
That would be the time that we have today for our workshop. Thank you all for your questions. As previously mentioned, if you have any other questions about your application and application status, we encourage you to drop an email to our licensing division. Here is the email address, which is licensing@cslb.ca.gov. That's licensing@cslb.ca.gov. And if at some point you need to reschedule your exam, we can get that process started by dropping an email to exams@cslb.ca.gov. We also put together a list of available resources for women considering a career in construction. If you haven't already, be sure to download this presentation to get them. You can download the presentation on the banner on the top of our homepage, which is at www.cslb.ca.gov. If you're watching the archive video of this workshop on our YouTube page, you'll find a link to the presentation down below.
We welcome your comments and topics for future webcasts. Just drop us an email at social@cslb.ca.gov. Special thanks to our Licensing Division and Public Affairs Office for their help on this workshop. The Get Licensed to Build workshop is a copyrighted production of the California Contractors State License Board. Thanks for watching.